Okay, it is my honor to welcome Mr. David Tessler, Director of Dangerous Organizations and Individuals Policy Team, Meta, Facebook, to the dais. Mr. David Tessler is the Director of the Dangerous Organizations and Individuals Policy Team at Meta. Priorly, he had an extensive career in the United States Foreign Service and the United States Treasury Department, focusing on counter-terrorist financing and sanctions with the assignments including Baghdad and the U.S. mission to the United Nations. He holds an MA in public policy from Harvard's Kennedy School. Mr. Tessler, the floor is yours. We used to call you Facebook. I can never get used to this Meta thing. You know what? We got to do something here with the branding. I don't know. All right.
Thank you, Jonathan, for the introduction and for the reminder about the name and the branding issue. And thank you so much to the ICT for inviting me to speak. It's an honor to stand before such a diverse crowd with incredible experience and knowledge, recognizing that the issues being discussed throughout this summit demand collective attention from stakeholders spanning government, academia, civil society, and tech. I believe strongly in the positive role technology can play in addressing threats from violent extremism, and on behalf of my colleagues at Meta, I'm grateful for the opportunity to be here in Israel. The theme of this year's summit draws our focus to the changing world. And while we have to be forward-thinking in our approaches to the changing threat landscapes and changing tech opportunities, it's vital to first spend a moment or two reflecting on how we got here. In the 2 decades since the horrific attacks in New York on September 11, 2001, the world witnessed a profound transformation in how we communicate, connect, and collaborate. The threats immediately post 9/11 were strongly rooted in organizations, traditional structures with leaders, logos, flags, and faces. These organizations were tactically advanced, leveraging the power of social media to disseminate propaganda and recruit followers. Fortunately, the multi-stakeholder community at the time rose to the occasion to respond in kind. At then Facebook, now Meta, specifically, we made important improvements to our internal designations process that we use to identify and prohibit terrorist groups and other dangerous organizations from our platforms. We also advanced our language expertise to account for regional nuances and developed technological tools to proactively detect and remove terrorist-affiliated content from our platforms. But as we all know, the work will never end. Significant developments in the threat landscape continue to demand new approaches, including the rise of ISIS, as the member of Knesset Eisenkot mentioned yesterday, a terrorist group that was able to take control of vast amounts of territory, to the creation of the Atomwaffen Division in the United States, to the live streaming of the terrorist attacks in Christchurch, New Zealand, by a single radicalized actor. These events and others have led to notable policy changes at Meta, as well as the launch of collaborative initiatives by impacted stakeholders to further reduce harm and these risks. We are well aware that the threats we face from extremist actors today are increasingly decentralized and ideologically amorphous. In addition to continued efforts to make Meta platforms inhospitable to ISIS recruiters or KKK propaganda, we face a new wave of cross-cutting harms that do not fit neatly in one policy bucket or organizational structure to designate. We now sometimes see extremist actors who pick and choose pieces of various ideologies and beliefs, almost like choosing from a salad bar, as they work to justify their violent missions and goals. Threats regarding child safety and illicit drugs now sometimes overlap with extremist groups, further highlighting the importance of multi-stakeholder efforts. Understanding and mapping out behavioral signals and red flags and those frameworks are an important component of how we effectively counter this evolving threat. And as the threat environment changes, our technology and the way we use it also evolves. Internet platforms are an integral part of our lives, shaping the way we connect, share information, and express ourselves. It has certainly brought the world closer together, allowing us to bridge distances and build global communities. New tools, including generative AI and immersive technologies, represent a remarkable leap forward in efficiency, education, and problem solving. But we need to acknowledge that with these powerful tools come challenges that, again, require collaboration across impacted stakeholders. In the spirit of working together as a collective ecosystem, I want to briefly talk about a few specifics that my team at Meta is focused on right now. I do this in hopes of highlighting some of the ongoing challenges we face and furthering the dialogue around how we can better work together on these issues. Given the large number of users and volume of content on our platforms, some of our most crucial work at Meta involves the automated tools we use to detect and remove content. To put this work in context, the prevalence of terrorist and extremist content on our platforms is extremely low. In the first quarter of 2023, and you can see these statistics in our Transparency Center, we took action on 14.5 million pieces of content on Facebook that violated our terrorism policies, accounting for less than 0.05% of content views, and 99% of which was proactively detected by machine learning at Meta before people reported it. However, I will not shy away from acknowledging that, as with any technology, our detection systems are imperfect. Given the scale of content being moderated on our platforms, we face a statistical reality where the more perfect we are at removing violating content, the more accidents we'll inevitably make in removing non-violating content. The inverse is also true. If we want to be more accurate with what we remove, the higher the chance is that violating content will elude our detection systems. Both of these concepts, low prevalence and high precision, are of the utmost importance to us, and we're working on new metrics to measure the impacts of our moderation efforts, and we're advancing new tools, tech tools, to better identify harmful content. And making progress on both of these goals takes greater collaboration between data scientists, operational personnel, and policy experts. Meta is not alone here. Many large tech platforms are working toward these same goals, and open conversations rooted in the realities of scaled content moderation can help to guide more concrete and realistic solutions to countering violent extremism online. We've also made great strides to strengthen our policies to address new threat trends. For example, in 2020, we developed an approach to target harmful actors who purposefully evade our detection efforts. Termed a strategic network disruption, the approach identifies a network of bad actors and takes action against them all at once, sending a message to harmful actors who persistently violate our terms of service. We've spoken publicly about this approach in hopes of sharing tactics with industry partners who face similar issues of recidivism and network reconstitution. We're also building out additional nuance in our enforcement systems, understanding that abuses are not always binary, but often exist in a spectrum of harmful activity. Policies that apply preventative interventions before outright removal help to warn users that they may be engaged in harmful activity, and they mitigate risk early on. Finally, Meta is a proud industry leader in information sharing forums and civil society engagements that help to up-level the entire ecosystem. We're currently the chair of the Global Internet Forum to Counter-Terrorism, or GIFCT, where we've built technologies that allow for the secure sharing of harmful content between platforms. We also recently open-sourced a tool that advances the capacity to identify small changes in violating content, a breakthrough enforcement solution that less resourced tech platforms can use to protect themselves from abuse. Our programmatic work with civil society organizations extends into the communities of our users, where, for example, our violence prevention training that we recently gave to CSO partners in West Africa was then deployed by those same partners during the 2022 coup in Burkina Faso to mitigate violence and report harmful content. Despite ongoing proactive efforts, we know that this is an adversarial space, with actors consistently trying to evade our scaled moderation. In addition to multilateral efforts like GIFCT, we maintain strong bilateral relationships with industry partners, and we've successfully deployed signal-sharing programs to disrupt actors who are known to jump from one platform to another. This additional level of collaboration allows industry to more comprehensively combat bad actors and prevent offline harm. Finally, we regularly engage at external events like this one to discuss our policies, stress test our approaches, and build ties with stakeholders for future collaboration. Later this month, my team will be at the Eradicate Hate Summit in Pittsburgh in the United States, where attendees will discuss challenges in reducing ideologically motivated attacks against minority populations. And we'll also attend the UN General Assembly in New York to make progress on work streams about risks to youth and gaming, which is something that's been raised a few times before today. We know that the threats from the violent extremism online require solutions at the nexus of policy, tech, and prevention. And we're committed to the multi-stakeholder forums like this one as an avenue to achieve these goals as a collective community. Finally, in sharing details of our ongoing work at Meta, I hope that you walk away understanding a little more about the range of challenges and, more importantly, of opportunities facing the tech industry today. We certainly have our work cut out for us, and I'm certain that collaborations with the stakeholders present at this summit and elsewhere can lead to productive discussions and solutions with real impact offline. Thank you again for having me here today.